So I'm looking to play Marvel Champions today, so that's what I'm going to do. This is one of my favorite board game series, so much so that I ended up buying the Green Goblin expansion and the Ant-Man expansion, and sleeved all the cards. But today, since this is my first video of Marvel Champions on my channel, I thought I would play with the core box set only and not bring in any of the expansions. So here are the 5 heroes that come with the expansion. You got, or not expansion, in the core box set. You got Iron Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, and She-Hulk. And since this is the first video, I'm going to choose Spider-Man as our go-to hero. And the reason I chose Spider-Man is that when you open up your core box set of Marvel Champions, you are greeted with this kind of starter deck for Spider-Man. And on one side it tells you, hey, don't open this until you're ready to play your first game. And on the other side it has the starter deck list for you. So we have all of the cards set out here. We have the dual-sided Spider-Man card. We have the 15 character-specific cards. We have our aspect cards for Justice, which is the yellow cards here. They're called Justice. And then we have the basic all-around cards. And we have the health dial, which is currently set at 10, which is his hit points right there. And then after you choose your hero and get all the cards situated, and the deck is at least 40 cards to a maximum of 50 cards, set your deck and your hero off to the side, and then you got to choose one of the villains. So I have the villains from the core box set, Rhino, Claw, and Ultron. And we are going to start off with Rhino, because Rhino is pretty much the easiest villain out of the core box set. So it starts off with Rhino being the easiest, Claw being a medium difficulty, and Ultron being downright brutal. So Rhino, we're starting it off with. And then, like Spider-Man, Rhino also greets you with the starter deck for him. And again, it says do not open until you're ready to play your first game. And on the back it says his deck list here. So the deck list consists of Rhino's character cards here, and these numbers on the side here, 1, 2, and 3, represent the difficulty. 1 being fighting 1 only would be like baby difficulty, rookie mode. 1 and 2 would be standard. 2 and 3 would be hard. And then there's a heroic mode, but I'm not going to get into that. So the starter deck just has you remove the 3rd off to the side, and you get only 1 and 2 for standard. So you get the character cards, you get the main objective for Rhino, which is called the break-in. You have Rhino's character-specific cards. You have a side mission or a side scheme called the bomb scare. So there's a bomb that's also being planted in the city of Manhattan. You have the standard cards that go into Rhino's deck as well. And you have the health dial, which is set at 14, which is the hit points of Rhino number 1. And everything is shuffled into Rhino's deck, with the exception of Rhino himself and the main objective. Another thing that will go into the deck before the deck gets shuffled is that whatever character that you're playing as will come with their own character-specific obligation cards and minion nemesis cards here. So for Spider-Man, his nemesis is the Vulture. You're going to take only the obligation card for each specific character that you're playing with, and you're going to shuffle that also into the deck, and then every nemesis will be set off to the side, and those may be brought into the game by a card called Shadows of the Past. And then once everything is all set up, all the decks are shuffled, you can get the game ready to go. So on one side would be a hero, on the other side would be the villain, and you can play with 1 players up to 4. So making sure I'm not cheating, I'll just cut those in half for right now. And so here we have Rhino, and his main objective is the break-in, and he's attacking a shield facility. It'll tell you here on those sides what you will need for the game to be set up. And then once that's all set up, you flip it over to the other side. You read the small little texts here that tell you the story, what little there is, which is Reno is trying to smash through the facility wall and steal a shipment of vibranium, and you have to stop him. Doesn't sound too hard. So you have Spider-Man here, and on one side it'll tell you what his hand size is, and it's 6 cards, and it's different from the other side, from his hero side. So be very mindful of what the hand sizes will be, and the health dials will be set. So you get your 6 cards for Spider-Man, and you look at them. Anything that you do not want, you take it and you mulligan, which is you just take it and you throw it away. I don't want that. I don't want this. And I'm going to eliminate one of those. And so I've eliminated 3 cards, and then you just draw back up to your max hand size. And that is what it needs for setup. Now you're ready to play the game. So this is the player turn breakdown. It tells you that on your turn you can play cards, use actions, you can attack or thwart, which is removing what is called threat from the main scheme. You can change your hero form once, and then you end your turn. Okay, and so for my turn, I'm going to use the character-specific ability of Peter Parker, which is to generate 1 science resource. And so this little token here will just represent that 1 resource. I will then spend, let's see, I'm going to spend those 2 cards here and bring out Black Cat, who is one of my allies. You can have a maximum of 3 allies or sidekicks with you. Forced response: after you play Black Cat, discard the top 2 cards of your deck, and then each card with the printed science resource, and this science resource will be these little things here, and it will be blue to represent that. So each one of those resources discarded this way will be added to my hand instead. So you take the 2 cards, and there's one with blue, and that one is added to my hand. See how that symbol is the same as this symbol here? Yeah. So, and there's 3 different types. There's the blue, there's the yellow, and there's the red. And then there's green, and green is kind of the wild one, which can work with anything. So, now that I've played her, I'm now going to spend this 1 resource, and I'm going to spend the card that I just picked up, the surveillance team, as well as the backflip to play. Oh wait, no, I can't do that just yet. Excuse me. I'm going to flip over. So I can do that only once per turn. So flipping over to Spider-Man's side, then I can do this. So excuse me, I'm paying these 2 plus the 1 resource that I had generated as Peter Parker to play this card, Swinging Web Kick. And you know how much a card costs by the number up here on the top, and that means that you have to spend these resources, not any specific in, no specific color, nothing like that, just any 3 to play this. So I'm playing the Swinging Web Kick, and the Swinging Web Kick is a hero action, which is why I needed to be in hero mode as to being as Peter Parker, and I deal 8 damage to an enemy. So that's what that does right off the bat. So Ryan's going from 14 down by 8 points. Now he's at 6, and I'm going to take the opportunity now to also, from the player reference card, because I've changed form, I can play any cards that I want from my hand. I can use any of the actions and abilities from my cards as many times as those cards will allow me. And now I will use my basic attack and thwarting powers. So over here on the side, you got thwart, which removes scheme or removes threat from the schemes, which are the objectives for Rhino. You attack and you defend. I'm going to attack, which is turning him sideways and dealing 2 damage to Rhino. So now he's at 4. And I have Black Cat here, and she can remove one threat from a scheme or attack once. And these little punch symbols there represents that she can only do so many things so many times before she flees, and her services are no longer available to us. So to remove threat from a scheme, it would do 1 damage to her, and she only has so much health here, based off of whatever number is here represents how much health she has. And then she can attack for free. So she's going to attack for free, tap her sideways, and deal a damage to Rhino. Okay, he's at 3 health. And so now comes the end of the turn. At the end of the turn, what you do is you ready up everybody. So from turning them sideways, turning them vertically. Any cards that are left in your hand, which the only one for me is Nick Fury. You can take any of these cards, throw them away, and then draw up to your new printed hand size. And for mine, it's 5. For mine, it's 5. If it was Peter Parker, it'd be 6. So, 5. So I want you to see that on one side you have the thwarting, the attacking, and the defending, and on the other side you have the recovery, which is healing yourself, because you yourself will take damage and you'll need to flip over to your alter ego side to recoup from the long days of superheroing. So drawing up to 5 cards. I have 1, so I get to add 4 more. And so these are all the cards that I have. On the villain side, it'll tell you the breakdown that the game will naturally take for the villains. It starts off by placing a threat on the main objective. Then the villain will either attack you if you are a hero, or he will put more threat onto his main objective in order to get himself to win. Then after all of that, he will deal an encounter card to each player, and then you have to deal with whatever encounter card is dealt to you, and then you pass the first player token if you are playing in a multiplayer game. For the main objective of Rhino trying to break into the shield facility to steal some vibranium, it goes up 1 threat for each player, and these are the threat tokens here. So it gets 1 threat because there's 1 player in this game, and in order for Rhino to succeed in stealing his vibranium, then it has to reach 7 threat on here at once. And that's 7 threat per player. So if it was in a 2-player game, it would be 14, but it's just a 1-player game, so it's 7. And then afterwards, Rhino is going to attack me. And so Rhino also has some scheming and some some attacking. So if we were in alter ego mode, he would put 1 threat onto the main objective. But since we're in hero mode, he's going to attack us for 2. And always a villain gets a boost card whenever they are attacking or scheming at this time. So I have to choose before he even attacks me, if he is attacking me, to defend myself. And my defense is 3. And so I can either tap myself horizontally and be permanently tapped on my next turn to defend whatever attack is coming against me. Or I can, if I have an ally, sacrifice them, and they can take all the damage that's coming their way, and just be a horrible individual. Or I can take it all, and I have 10 health, so I can take it if I wanted to. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take it. So he's going to hit me with 2 damage plus, and you will ignore all of the text up here and only focus on these 2 symbols down here. And there's sometimes 3, there's sometimes 1, and there's sometimes none. So depending on how many of these triangular boost icons there are, will determine how much extra damage will be coming our way. So he's going to attack us for 2 plus 2, so that'll be a total of 4. And that card is discarded and thrown away, and we take 4 damage. And so this is what's left. Then after that, we are dealt 1 card from the encounter deck, and we have to resolve whatever this card says. So this is a Hydra Bomber, which is a minion, which is one of Rhino's allies, and he can have as many of these on the field as he wants, whereas if we have allies, we can only have a maximum of 3, which is so unfair, but the villains are always unfair. And he's got his own things too, so right after Rhino would attack or put more threat on the main objective, the minions, if they're out at this time, would also do the same. They would either attack us or scheme, and they would not get a boost card like how Rhino does, because Rhino's the big bad and these are just little lackeys. When the Hydra Bomber is revealed, you can choose either to take 2 damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme, and I'll put 1 threat on the main scheme. And that was Rhino's turn. The Hydra Bomber only has 2 health, so if you attack, you can eliminate this guy, and he'll be out of the game. If he's still around by the time after Rhino attacks and stuff like that, he'll do extra things for himself. So you can still attack Rhino unless a minion has the word guard. Then you can't attack the main villain. You have to deal with the minion. But this guy, we can get around him pretty easily. I also forgot to mention that when Rhino attacks us, because of Spider-Man's special ability, when the villain initiates an attack against us, we get to draw a card. So we get a free card from Rhino attacking us. So thank you. And it's this card here. Okay, I'm going to move fast here on my turn, so bear with me. I'm going to attack as Spider-Man and attack as Black Cat, which will deal 3 damage to Rhino, because I'm going right past the Hydra Bomber and straight to Rhino because the minion does not have the word guard on him. So he's now going to be put at 0. In a standard game, after you defeat one version of the character, you will move on to the other version of the character. If you were playing on rookie mode, you would only deal with number 1 exclusively, but since we're doing on standard mode, we will deal with 1 and now 2. And when number 2 is revealed, and this is a slightly stronger version of the first one, we will now search the encounter deck and discard pile for the breaking and taking side quest and reveal it and shuffle the encounter deck. So here is the side quest, the breaking and taking. Rhino is breaking things and taking them, and it'll come on with 2 threat plus an additional 1 for each player in the game. So it'll come on with 3, and this has the hazard icon, which means that when we are dealt an encounter card that we have to resolve, we will be dealt an additional 1 on the villain's turn. So this will go off to the side here, and Rhino number 2 will have 15 health. Okay, now on my turn, I'm going to flip over to Spider-Man, and I'm going to use his character ability. Even though he's tapped, I can still use his ability, which is generate a resource, and I'll even spend that resource now, and up to these cards here, which this represents 2 resources and this represents 1, so a total of 4 resources, and bring out Nick Fury into play as another ally. When he's brought out, I can either choose to remove 2 threat from a scheme, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage to an enemy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by dealing 4 damage to Rhino. Rhino is now at 11, and Nick Fury will tap and deal 2 damage to the Hydra Bomber and remove the Hydra Bomber from the field. Nick Fury takes 1 damage because of what happens after he attacks. He's got all those little punch marks, so he takes 1 damage, and that goes to his 3 health. Note that Nick Fury himself, if he's at the end of is still around at the end of the round, then he has to be discarded, and that is at the end of the villain's turn. So we have to make good use of him now if we could, which if we were in hero mode, we would basically sacrifice Nick Fury for us. So at the end of the round, take any cards we don't want, throw it away, draw up to our new printed hand size, which is 6, that's 5, and 6. Everybody's readied, and now it is Rhino's turn. 1 threat goes on to the break-in, which makes it at 3, and he's going to scheme and put it with 1 plus 2, so putting on for an additional 3. So he'll now put it at 6. So now with it being at 6 out of 7, if he reaches 7, he wins the game. If he kills us by depleting our health completely, then we lose the game and he wins. But if we can get through all of his health and keep his objectives from reaching their maximum, then we win the game. So the game is very against us. And especially right now because we are going to be dealt an encounter card plus an additional counter card. And let's see what happens. So, first one is going to be an assault. If we were in hero mode, he would attack us, but it's not, so this card gains surge. And surge is just basically throw that away, get a new card. And we are now confused because of the bomb scare. This is confusing us because it was a false alarm. Confusion is a status card, where the next time this character would thwart or scheme, we have to discard this card instead. And for the last card, it is another false alarm. And if we're already confused, this card gains surge. So we just throw that away, get a new card. And it is a charge, and we attack to Rhino. So the next time Rhino would attack, it gains overkill, which means any excess damage from an ally, this attack is dealt to that ally's controller, and at the end of the attack, discard charge. So this is an attachment to Rhino himself. Next time he would attack, he has 6 attack plus a boost card, and if we decide to throw in one of our allies to take all the damage, it'll actually run over our ally and hit us for whatever is remaining. So that is not a very good card to have out. Okay, now it is the end of the round. Nick Fury is going to leave. He was only around for a short time, which is normally how he's like that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to ignore the status card because that's not important right now. Rhino has 11 health left, and I'm going to try to deplete that. Using Peter Parker, gain a resource, going to spend, gain a resource. I'm going to flip to Spider-Man, spend the resource, spend 2 other cards as resources, play Swinging Web Kick and deal 8 damage to an enemy. Rhino's going to get taken down to 3. Then with his last 3 health, Black Cat will attack for 1, and so will Spider-Man, and that'll deplete Rhino to 0. Once your villain's total has been depleted to 0, and this is the last of the the versions of Rhino that you're fighting, flipped over, you win. You have stopped Rhino from breaking into the shield facility and stealing vibranium. And that is the first game of Marvel Champions. Just kind of a basic overview rundown of how the game normally works. It does get a little more complicated from here depending on what cards each character plays differently. Spider-Man is more on resources, Iron Man is more on building armor, Black Panther is focused on his country and gadgetry, She-Hulk is focused on rage, Captain Marvel's focused on energy and drawing cards and just doing massive amounts of damage. So I love this game a lot. I'm going to put more videos on YouTube whenever I can, of different things, of different difficulties, and even playing the heroic mode, which is a super hard difficulty mode that I will probably show you guys in the next video. Later.